Okay, for today we're going to be reviewing fractions. We're going to look at adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing regular fractions and mixed number fractions. So with adding and subtracting, remember you have to have a common denominator. It's the only type of fraction you need a common denominator for. The other ones, you don't have to have it. So if we have 2/3 and 3/5, we want to find what is common between 3 and 5. And we know the common denominator between 3 and 5 is 15. So now we're going to have both of these as 15th. So I look at 2/3. I want my denominator to change from a 3 to a 15. What am I going to multiply 3 by to get 15? The answer is 5. I'm going to multiply this by 5/5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay? Now, 3/5. We want to see what do I have to do to make this denominator 5 become a 15? Well, it's times 3. So I'm going to multiply it by 3/3. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 3 is 15. So it becomes 10/15 plus 9/15. And I get 19/15. Since they have the same denominator now, you can just add them. But now we have an improper fraction. The top is bigger than the bottom. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I say, how many 15s fit into this 19? And the answer is 1. I have one whole, which is 15 out of 15. How many more are left after the 15? Well, we have 19. So 15 and 4 more gives me my 19. So I have 1 and 4/15. Remember, any adding and subtracting, you need a common denominator. If you change the numerator, you have to change the denominator. If you change the denominator, you have to change the numerator. Okay? Now, we're going to be looking at improper fraction, or mixed numbers. We have 5 and 3/4 minus 2 and 2/5. Same rule applies. We have to find common denominators. So I don't have to make these mixed numbers. You can if you want. It just makes them a little longer and a little harder. So I'm going to say I have 5 whole things and I have a little fraction extra. I'm going to take away 2 whole things and another part of a fraction. Let's look at my 2 fractions. 5 and something minus 2 and something. Let's look at the somethings. 3/4 and 2/5. What's common between a 4 and a 5? Well, 20. So instead of fourths and fifths, we're going to have 20ths. So I look at my 3/4. What am I going to multiply this denominator 4 by to get 20? Well, it's 5. So I have to multiply both numbers by 5. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 5 is 15. So I multiplied that by 5/5. Now I look at this one, 2/5. What am I going to multiply 2/5 by to get 20ths? Well, 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm going to multiply it by 4/4. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 4 is 20. Now I have a fraction with common denominators. Whole numbers, 5 take away 2 is 3. And 15/20 take away 8/20 is 7/20. Okay, remember, common denominator for adding and subtracting. Okay, moving on to the next type of problem. We have multiplying. So multiplying is actually a lot easier. I just multiply my top, my numerator, times my denominator. So if I'm going to write this a little bigger, I have 5/8 times 4/5. If you want to, you can just do 5 times 4 across the top, get 20. 8 times 5 is 40. I simplify. 20 goes into 20 once, 20 goes into 40 twice, so I would get an answer of a half. There's another way to do this, which is going to lead to not having to reduce at the end. If I look, any top can simplify with any bottom. How many 5s go into 5 once? How many 5s go into 5 here? Once. How many 4s go into 4? 1. How many 4s go into 8? 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Do them either way. Simplifying ahead of time might make it easier. It'll give you smaller numbers to work with. And again, you don't need common denominators. Just multiply your top, multiply your bottom, or simplify first, then do it. Okay, now moving on to multiplying with mixed numbers. It's the same idea, except you have one little extra step. You have to take your mixed numbers and make them into improper fractions. You do this by the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So I have 10 thirds times 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So I have 12 over 5. So I can do this and get 120 over 15 and simplify from there. Or 3 goes in there once, 3 goes in there 4. 5 goes in there twice, 5 goes in there once. 2 times 4 is 8. So 120 over 15 simplifies right down to 8. Okay, got 2 more types of problems left. Okay, I have division. With division, we have keep, change, flip. And then it becomes a multiplication problem. So I have 3/8. I keep the first fraction. I change to multiply. And I flip. I take the reciprocal of the second one. So I have 6 over 5. Again, 3 times 6, 18. I can do it this way. 8 times 5 is 40. Then I'd have to simplify, or ahead of time, any top with any bottom. 2 goes into a 6 3 times. 2 goes into an 8 4 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 5 is 20. Or I could have got this and said, well, they're both even. I can divide by 2 and get 9/20. Remember, keep, change, flip for division. Then it becomes a multiplication problem. And our last one. Oops. Come on. There we go. Is division with mixed numbers. It's the same thing. We have to take this and make them improper fractions. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus the 2 is 20. So I have 20 thirds divided by 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25 6. Now it looks like the type of problem we're used to. Now we apply keep, change, flip. 20 thirds, keep, change to multiply, and flip to the reciprocal and get 6/25. We can do it this way and get 120 over 75, but that's not fun. Then I'd have to simplify to there, or any top with any bottom. 3 goes in there once, 3 goes into 6 twice. 5 goes into 24 times, 5 goes in there 5. So 4 times 2 is 8, 1 times 5 is 5. 8/5, which is improper. How many 5s fit into the 8? Well, 1. I need 3 more to get up to the 8. So 1 3/5. Hopefully this helps you with your exit ticket. If you have any trouble, refer back to this video or email me, Miss Lib or Miss Wilkins.